The emptiness. You ain't fucking kidding. The emptiness is what some of you may recognize to be a hidden object game, a genre that centers around working through largely static, pre-drawn environments by uncovering concealed items or words to solve puzzles, kind of like a vegetative point-and-click adventure. I'd never played one before this train wreck, and while I don't doubt that there must be at least a handful of decent titles in the genre, Satan will be building snowmen in hell before I ever get within 30 feet of one again. Last time on Endgame, we managed to batter Dark Base 1 into submission, a game whose primary attack was to try and bore you to death through sheer repetition. Did you ever watch those Roadrunner cartoons where Wile E. Coyote ground through scheme after scheme to try and flatten the alacritous little bastard? The tragedy of Wile E. Coyote was that most of his plans were great, they were just plagued by bad luck. If he'd made a minor adjustment here and there rather than abandoning them wholesale after one attempt, Roadrunner would be doing laps around the underworld instead of Utah or Colorado or wherever they were set. Well, the emptiness watched those cartoons and thought the same thing. It looked at Dark Base 1 and thought, well, that nearly killed the Fragnostic. All I've got to do is be so paralytically stale, so numbingly fucking interminable that it finishes the job. Now how can I do that? Well, I'll clue you in, shall I? Despite starting with some big clever words and shocking lies, the emptiness soon reveals itself to be a plotless, atrociously written death march through a handful of rooms in a haunted house that charges you with finding camouflaged letters of the alphabet that make up a spell. Once you've done that, you'll play a minigame that has little to nothing to do with anything, to the point where you can actually skip it without penalty at any point before you repeat the entire experience again and again and again until the sun burns out, until the cosmos collapse, until infinity itself starts thinking maybe it's time to start writing that fucking will. Along the way, the game tries to startle you with these pitiful jump scares that are just, good lord. But you know they're coming because it has to freeze for a couple of seconds to load them. Not that it'd make a difference either way, because, I don't know, I guess balding dwarves jumping out of walls just never made my phobia list. I ended up quitting after the game's fourth cycle of Sesame Street bullshit plunged the house into pitch black and ordered me to hunt down a fuse to fix a power box in the basement. I looked all over, clicked on every tedious pixel of every tedious screen, but no fuse for fraggers. And you know what, being honest, it was a relief. I was happy to be defeated. It was a death I welcomed, and one that I was more than satisfied to bury as my first ever. I moved on with my life. I got a new house. I had my daughter. And then I started Endgame, and I brought the rains down on its shallow grave and unearthed its dirty, worm-ridden corpse. I could talk about the mental preparation I undertook before I returned to the emptiness, the hours of meditation, training with the SAS in torture resistance techniques, but in truth, there's really nothing that will forearm you against the banality, the lifelessness, the sheer ennui that this game will gash you with. Playing it is like struggling against a carbon monoxide suicide attempt in a garage. It's like flying. All you're doing is sitting down and occasionally going to the bathroom, and yet you feel exhausted. Every time I so much as glanced at the desktop shortcut, I could feel my body turning to stone, as if Medusa from Greek legend had somehow escaped the annals of mythology and installed herself on my computer. The game is malware for the human body. So the fuse is actually here. I know, it's hardly invisible, is it? But that's the thing. I found it almost straight away after coming back to the game with a clear head and a few months rest. At the time of the original playthrough, my mind was just clouded by sheer boredom. With that in mind, I had to take a similar tactic to Dark Base 1 and attempt a little bit of the emptiness each day so that it didn't gnaw at my soul too heavily. If I tried to play more than half an hour at a time, a horrifying mental numbness would start to set in, and I wouldn't get anything done, so I restricted myself to one pop a day. I know it may seem ridiculous to have a bang at a hidden object game for hiding its objects too thoroughly, but Jesus Christ, man, look, you need to be awake for that shit, don't you? This isn't something you can slouch back and play after a shift at work. I don't know where to go with this, really. You find the letters, you play the games, which get more and more pedantic as you go, like, good lord, this puzzle. There's a practically identical copy of each piece and you're supposed to just guess which one's correct. Nothing in the emptiness feels like there's any right answer to it, like the whole if a tree falls in the woods scenario. No, this is more like a fucking thought experiment or a Buddhist teaching on the nature of nothingness. There are 9 cycles of this bullshit. 9 long cycles in which you search the same rooms for the same letters, except for the final one where it just stops using shapes that you recognise before it hauls your shattered body up to the finish line for one final insult. Before you can roll over and die, this game is going to judge you.
You're carrying too many burdens on your soul. Leave something behind to go forth.
So yeah, you gotta do this 6 fucking times and then pick a staircase to go up. I guess it affects the ending in some small way, but I'll be goddamned if I ever so much as look at this shit again, let alone play it to find out, until you get to the final level and choose one more thing to get rid of. I almost chose Ruth, because fuck Ruth and her bullshit, before I realised they might have just completely bollocksed up spelling truth and went for fame instead. And this is what the emptiness said to me.
Your world has not changed. A humdrum existence is your problem. All the fears are still inside. Try to change yourself and brighten up the grey days. We are masters of our own destiny. But only the memory. Our own memory is our righteous and eternal judge.
I'm boring. Fuck my arse, mates.